Welcome back, everyone. I have a question. Today's question is, what's wrong with Zippy? Now, Zippy right here is a 2006 Ford Focus, 2.0 inline 4, and for the life of me, I can't figure out what's wrong with the damn thing. So, here's what's happening. You start it up, it runs, it gets hot, you put any kind of load on it, doesn't matter if it's from the compressor, the alternator, or the transmission. You put any kind of load on it, when it's hot, dies. Rev it up, you put a load on it, it's fine. If it's cold and you start it up and put it in gear and start driving around until it gets hot, it's perfectly fine. And the only problem is when it gets hot, if you take your foot off the gas, dies. Okay, that's the problem. So here's what I've done and looked at. I just got done doing a compression check. 1, 2, 3, 4 cylinder. We have 140, 140, 120, 120. Okay? I don't know specific numbers for this. Manufacturer doesn't list them either. But in my opinion, an average of 130 pounds of pressure, of compression, is more than adequate. But you pull the cap off, got all this blow-by. It's pushing oil around through this tube back into the intake and sucking it into the motor. All right, so here's what I've done. I got rid of the lifetime air filter housing. I replaced it. It's down below under the fender. You can't see it, but I replaced it. It's got fresh air filter. New air resonator chamber. New boot. Intake manifold has come off. PCV has been replaced. As you can see, this hose has been replaced because it still has a tag on it. I put a new alternator on it. I've checked the belt. Everything's fine there because, I do the alternator. It's got, coolant levels where it should be. It's jacked up right now, so it's kind of crooked. Okay? So I've done all that. All new air intake stuff. Clean the throttle body, put new gaskets on, and other than being saturated with oil, wasn't really that much wrong with it. Okay. I've disconnected the exhaust right where it bolts into the catalytic converter. Okay, so it's just coming right out of the manifold and out. And I did that today too. Started up, let it get hot, because I thought, well, maybe it's clogged in the exhaust. It's not. It has, what else did I do? It's had a new idle air control valve put on. It's had what else did I put on the damn thing? Put a new PCM in it, powertrain control module, put one of those in. And I've went over the wiring harness, checked everything out, it's fine. Fuel pressure, there's no test port, but according to the scanner, fuel pressure's at 30 pounds. That's, where it should be. It's like 31 or something. Okay? I've checked all the fuses and relays. Yeah, relays. They're fine. What's wrong with Zippy? What the hell's the problem? You start it up, crank, fires, and then it'll run, and then, it just gets hot. You put a load on it, it dies. Sometimes if you let it sit here and idle, it'll run perfectly fine for, 30 minutes, and then it'll just kind of die randomly. Fire it back up, starts back up. The engine the car has 238,000 miles on it. Okay? So you're like, all right, well, probably needs a rebuild then, since you've got some blow-by and it's coming around, and, you need to do that. Needs a rebuild. All right, well, if it needs a rebuild, why is my compression so high? What I'm thinking right now, and I'm just asking the internet here because what good's the internet if you can't ask questions on it? And you may not get the answer you want, but you get an answer at least. My thinking is the oil ring on the piston is bad, or maybe all the rings are worn out enough that it's letting oil come up and it's getting into the cylinders, and that's what's increasing the compression. But I don't know how well that pans out because, see, the procedure is to do the compression check. You got to warm it up to normal operating temperature, pull the fuel pump fuse, run the fuel out of the injector so you don't flood the damn thing, and then pull your plugs out, put your compression hose in, and run your check. And I did all that, and there was some oil on the threads of the spark plugs, not where the ground tang and the electrodes are at. No, not there, just on the threads. and it wasn't on my tool. I made sure of that. I wasn't spreading oil around because I accidentally got my socket dropped in a bucket of oil or something. So, I don't know what's going on. We do not have coolant in the oil or vice versa. The oil's not being diluted. It has the right type of oil in it. It had brand new oil and a brand new filter on it when we got the car. But the car's never run. Part of the reason we bought it is because the last people that had it had this problem. So, $600 auction car, we're still trying to figure it out. Or I am. So I've been asking around, and people are like, well, hell, I don't know. Needs a motor is what we were told by one of the local mechanics, because we took it in there. Like, well, you diagnose it and see if you can figure it out. And he's like, well, need a motor. I'm like, I don't know that it needs a motor, because, again, your compression's good, and when it's cold, if you get it in gear and you drive around, hell, it's got plenty of power. It's not hurting in that regard. It's just when you get it down to idle and you put a load on it, it dies. It's like either it's not compensating quick enough because of the computer or some electronic deal. It's not, that's not working right, or mechanically it cannot compensate quick enough so that when you put a load on it and it lugs down because of that load, it can't pick back up quick enough, like I said, either for electrical reasons or mechanical reasons. But you tell me, if all the fuses are good, it's got a brand new battery, it's got a brand new alternator's charging just fine, all the wires and plug-ins check out, okay, how can that be electronic? You're like, well, check your grounds. I have checked all the grounds. Grounds are fine. I have no clue what the heck is going on. You might say, well, the timing's off. Timing cannot be off because there are no misfires. None. There are no misfires. You might say fuel injectors. Well, if the fuel injectors were not working correctly, you'd have a misfire or a hesitation. And we're not getting that. So, Internet, that is my question to you. What is wrong with Zippy here? Because this is very frustrating. I mean, look, it's not my car per se, it's my sister's car. But she'd really like to have a car she could drive around. I'd really like for her to have a car she could drive around, and I'd like to make a vehicle run because that thing's not going to run. So I'd like to make this run. But I don't know what's wrong with it. I've checked everything I can think to check. So I'm hoping that somebody, one of you armchair mechanics out there, has an idea or a theory, something I haven't thought of before. And I did other stuff to it as well, but I can't remember what it is right now. So if you have any ideas or suggestions or questions, leave a comment and see if maybe you can help me out here, because I have no clue. It's not, as near as I can tell, it's not ignition, fuel, or electrical, or mechanical. But it's got to be one of those four, but I don't know which one it is. I really don't. And I'm at my wit's end, which is why I'm coming to the internet for help. I mean, asking the internet directly. What the heck is wrong with this? If you can help me out, if you have any ideas, leave them down below. It'd be much appreciated. I'm going to put all my tools away and brainstorm on this some more. And maybe I can come up with a solution in the meantime. So, yeah, any help is much appreciated. Thank you.